Good afternoon. Thanks for streaming with us. I'm Elizabeth Rollins. You're watching News Now. We've been streaming for the last few hours. We're so glad to have you. Maybe you're getting ready for some football. We know that our sports team is. It's game day in Athens. It's Saturday in Athens, the best time of year. I've got my game day shirt on. I had my Bulldog shirt on last weekend. I've got this game day shirt on this weekend, so I'm ready to go. I feel like this one's also kind of channeling the Falcons colors too, so I'm kind of very versatile for weekend apparel. We want to go though, so we've got our team Olivia and Georgia who are headed to Athens right now. They're literally in the car on I-85 headed to Athens. I hear that it's actually a little chaotic. Also the fact that in the last hour we just heard that they've moved up the game to 2:30 because of weather. Guys, what are you seeing, hearing? Just tell us about it.
Yeah, Elizabeth, that definitely was an update that Georgia and I weren't necessarily expecting. Luckily, we were both wide awake and getting ready for this incredible game day that we're so excited about, being back at Sanford Stadium. But yeah, the game moved up an hour, obviously out of an abundance of safety for all of the Georgia football fans, as well as any Austin Peay fans coming into the state of Georgia. That is who the fourth-ranked Georgia Bulldogs are playing today. So we said, hey, let's just get to the station just a little bit earlier, and we're going to hit the road. And like you said, clear traffic on 85, so keep your fingers, your toes, everything crossed that our game day traffic does not get too chaotic. We're about 50 minutes outside of Athens, and we will be there, of course. Again, like you mentioned, Georgia Chambers is steering the ship for us right now, so she's focused on the road, but Georgia and I will be there bringing you guys coverage all evening on the Georgia Bulldogs taking on Austin Peay. But yeah, traffic good right now on I-85, and for any Georgia fans who might be watching this sitting at home, if you didn't know that the game got bumped up an hour, if you are planning on going to Athens, if you're sitting on the couch, you might want to go ahead and get up because you've got to get a drive to Athens in. But yeah, sky's looking good for right now and traffic looking good on I-85. We're just gonna pray that this continues and make sure that our traffic stays okay.
Olivia, we were just chatting on earlier, and you said that you're kind of avoiding 316. You said it, or at least your GPS is having you avoid 316.
Yes, the GPS did tell us don't do 316. We're just not even gonna attempt 316 today. So yeah, we looked down and it said keep going on 85 north. So that's what we did. We listened to the GPS, and hopefully that pays off for us. So yeah, just about 45 minutes away, and it's been smooth sailing for us so far. So anybody, if you are planning on going, maybe I-85 is the route that you want to go ahead and take. So yeah, 316, it was a no from the Apple Maps for us today. They said no to the 316 route.
Okay, so you know, obviously our fans are very anxious to know kind of what are your plans for today? Once you get there, kind of walk us through your day. What does that look like? Probably very different than just your average tailgater.
Yes, much different than your average tailgater. Georgia and I, we have the best job because we're on our way to go cover the fourth-ranked team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs, an incredible team with Kirby Smart leading them to hopefully another successful year. So yeah, our Saturdays, people are like, oh, do you like working on Saturdays? That's kind of lame that you don't get your normal weekend. No. Georgia and I get to be on the sidelines for a Georgia Bulldogs game. I mean, how much better does it get than that? So our day, you know, once we get parked, we've got to load up all of our gear. We've got our abilities to go live like we're doing with you right now, our camera, our mics, and all of that. We're going to load all of that up, make our way over to Sanford Stadium, and just get set up. Hopefully have time for a little pregame meal. I would not be opposed to that. I don't know, maybe we'll get a little Chick-fil-A or something along those lines because you can't go wrong with Chick-fil-A Chick-fil-A on a college football Saturday. So head on over to Sanford Stadium, and then if you're watching the game, you want to make sure to keep your eyes peeled for Georgia and I on the sidelines, because we'll be down there. We'll be wearing a beautiful photog given vest that makes us look exactly like everyone else on the sidelines, but we'll be down there shooting the game for you guys, getting all of those highlights that we need to get, and then get to editing and talk with Coach Smart and some of the players after the game, and then we'll have coverage of the Georgia Bulldogs hopefully getting a big victory against the Austin Peay Governors later on tonight on Fox 5.
And, as someone who covers, these games all the time, talk about kind of, okay, they've moved up the time. Number one, that's a big deal. And what goes into making that decision, number one? Number two, this can, kind of psych those players out as well. It can have that kind of psychological effect. And Georgia's known for, getting freaked out about things like this.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. I don't personally know exactly all the ins and outs that went into making this decision. Honestly, we were a little surprised that the decision was made this morning. But the thing about this Georgia game is if it was on ESPN or SEC Network, those times they're kind of set in stone. This game is on a streaming platform, so we're under the assumption that Coach Smart just kind of reached out to the Austin Peay staff and being like, hey, do we think this would be okay? Do we think we could do this? Again, out of an abundance of safety for the players, the coaching staff, and all of the fans making the trip to Athens. Of course, we want safety to be the top priority. So I'm sure it was a very hectic morning for the UGA athletics staff because game days are so crazy, as you know, as all of these Georgia fans know, having all the fans come into town and having recruits come into town and all of this stuff that they've got to do on game day. So it definitely, I'm sure, was a little bit of a chaotic morning, but now we've just got to get game day underway and going, and hopefully we can avoid the weather and everything's going to be okay from that standpoint. That is our hope and prayer. Again, no traffic and hopefully minimal rain. We're crossing our fingers for.
And how do you think they're mentally preparing for that? Is what they bumped up the 1 hour, that's 1 hour less than their routine, and 3:30 is kind of that golden hour for Georgia.
Yes, absolutely. We were talking about that, Georgia and I were, just before we jumped on this show with you, and we're just kind of wondering how much does that change their routine. You've got to assume that with a 3:30 kick that they would probably be up and at 'em fairly early in the morning, maybe looking at some last minute film if they're going to do that. But most teams, if you've got even a game later in the day, they've got a breakfast that they can at least slide by, get some food, whether it's a team breakfast that you sit and eat or at least grabbing some breakfast. So maybe that just turned into, okay, make sure you're here definitely at this time. I would assume for the Georgia players, this isn't going to impact them at all mentally. If anything, they're just that more excited to get on the field and get ready. We were talking, Georgia and I were discussing, you got to wonder if the Austin Peay team, if they wanted that extra hour of preparation to take on this gauntlet of a Georgia football team. But in the end of the day, when it comes to game day, is that extra hour of pregame preparation going to make that much of a difference going up against Kirby Smart's team? That is something that I don't know, because I never played college football. So you've got to kind of look at it both ways. Like, maybe having that extra hour would have been nice, but to your point, it does kind of mess with them just in their routine, right? We see all the time, okay, guys have to have this exact pregame breakfast and they have to walk the field 3 times in order to make sure that they feel comfortable about going into the game. So maybe that does have a little bit of an impact here and there, but with an hour, that's really, I think, just cutting into what they might be doing at the stadium. Maybe they just have a little less time for a walkthrough or a little less time out on the field before warm-ups really begin. So hopefully it's not messing with too many people mentally, and everyone can get ready to play a really great football game today.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because as a Georgia alum, I myself, I've seen too many of these weird moments where you'd be amazed at how simple time can just trip up a game. And but good luck to you guys Stay safe. I hope you brought your rain gear.
Thank you. We got our rain jackets and we've got our rain gear for the cameras, yes. So hopefully Georgia prepared and put her hair up. I threw a straightener through mine and said while I was doing it, this was a waste of my time. So hopefully the rain and the weather cooperates with us and it doesn't get too bad and we can get out of Sanford Stadium with a Bulldogs victory.
All right, thanks so much, Georgia and Olivia, on their way to Athens for the Georgia game that is now at 2:30 because of weather. And